Right. Thank you so much to everyone who's joined us today. My name's Owen. I'm the digital marketing specialist for Push Operations, and I'm really excited to have everyone here, especially our amazing guest of panelists who will join us for a nice roundtable of just seasoned, restaurant industry advice and insights to help some new restaurant owners. Or if you're looking to grow in 2026, this is a webinar for you. Um, as always, if you have any questions, feel free to leave them in the chat as we go, and then we'll reach them at the end. And this webinar will be recorded on YouTube. So if you have any questions or you want to go back to it, we'll post it in the next couple days. We also have a surprise for our attendees who stick around until the end of the webinar on behalf of Push. So really excited to get to that. But let's just get straight into it. Let's go to the introductions of our guest speakers. I'll introduce them, and if our guest speakers can share a bit about themselves and maybe a fun fact or two, that'd be awesome. We'll start with Cam from Push Operations.
Hello, everyone. Cam Harold, SVP of Revenue for Push Operations. I am by far the least interesting and least important person on this call. We have such a great panel and excited to hear from everyone. Been with Push for a little over 4 years, been around the hospitality and restaurant industry my entire life. Fun fact about me, oh man, that's a good one. Lived in Hawaii for a year, lived in California for a couple of years when I'm actually out of Ottawa, Canada. So I've gone from extreme hot to extreme cold in my life and yeah, settled down in Ottawa. So glad to be here.
Awesome. Thanks so much. Next up, we have Megan from ZZA Hospitality.
Hi, good morning. I'm Megan Moore from ZZA Hospitality Group. Fun fact right off the bat is ZZA is where we kind of originated, was our Boston Pizza location. So ZZA is actually for the end of pizza. Been in hospitality for over 20 years, aging myself slightly. We own and operate 15 locations in 3 different brands currently. We work in 3 different provinces, and we're also in the Yukon and the Northwest Territories. Always looking for innovative brands to add to our portfolio. And yeah, glad to be here today. Thanks for having me.
Awesome. Thanks, Megan. And if you haven't checked out Megan and ZZA Hospitality on our previous Crumble webinar, they're also there too. Next up, we have Aaron from El Camino.
Hey guys, I'm the general manager from El Camino in the Byward Market in Ottawa. A fun fact about me is the first cocktail I ever had in my life was actually at El Camino 10 years ago, and I ended up becoming the general manager there. I went there with my mother and I had a bourbon sour. So I think it's interesting that things came full circle to that extent.
Perfect. We love a full circle moment. Lastly, we have Leslie from Sawmill Restaurant Group.
Good morning. I have been with the Sawmill for approximately 15 years and the corporate accountant for about 4 now. Fun fact, we've been in business coming up on 50 years this year, so we're very excited about that. And joining with Push in the last year, we've definitely started to come into our own with integrations and whatnot. So definitely excited to be a part of this panel and honored to be with these amazing panelists.
Awesome. That's amazing. 50 years. Great. Um, as we, wrap up 2025, it's been an interesting year. Lots of ups and downs for the restaurant industry, hospitality industry in general. Different trends popping up. Customer demand is changing every day. We'll start with Aaron. Do you have any learnings from 2025 that you'd like to share?
The biggest lesson that I've had probably my entire career, honestly, was delegating as much of my admin and laptop time as I can to people that are up and coming, rising stars that could potentially be future elevated leaders in our company. I will plug Push because I do have the numbers on that from last year, and I was able to save 3 hours and 11 minutes per week of delegating admin through that tool. And it allowed me to be where I believe is the most important place, and that is in service, being able to give feedback, interact with guests. So that's definitely the biggest learning that I've had in 2025.
Awesome. That's great to hear. Megan, is there anything that you'd like to reflect on from 2025?
I just totally echo Aaron. Being in hospitality for as long as I have been, our time and energy on admin is probably the worst place that we can set ourselves in. And we spend a lot of time doing reporting on where I always say reporting is the past tense, like where it's already happened. So us being on the floor and us working with guests and driving sales, I mean, now we're determining what the future looks like. So totally echo on trying to, spend more time in service and working with those guests and even our own staff training and developing rather than the administration side, for sure.
Awesome. Well, um, Leslie, is there anything you'd like to share as we reflect on 2025, things at Sawmill Group um, that stood out to you? You might be on mute here.
We integrated with Push in 2025, and I think our biggest lesson was to use the systems to their most advantage and to definitely echo the other panelists. Put your time where it's needed and save on the admin if you can. So it's definitely been a win for us.
Awesome. That's so great. And speaking of integrations, as we go to the next slide here, I know, Leslie, you talked about integrating POS and push together across your four restaurants. Could you dive into how that experience was like and how did that benefit your team?
For us, we used to export all of our data out of our old POS system and manually have to import it into the payroll system. It took us hours, and we had a team of 4 different people that worked on it. Now that we're integrated through our POS system into Push, it has saved us so many hours in our admin, and we run 5 different payrolls, and honestly I could do it all now, whereas before we had 4 team members that were running it. So it's definitely, the integration has been huge for us.
Awesome. That's great to hear. I know Cam is here to speak on behalf of our amazing clients. Have there been any clients who have integrated with the POS who've seen a lot of, growth in 2025?
Yeah, I mean, almost every single one of our customers does integrate with their POS. It is kind of one of the main things that helps us run. But when we look back at our customers in 2025, I think either big wins or lessons or even people wins is it doesn't matter how many great people you hire, and everyone's trying to hire top talent. It's if you can get them to all to row in the same direction. I think we're seeing that at Push. We're seeing that in with our customers at the restaurants is, are you able to help them row in the same direction? And that goes back to, do you have, a North Star that the restaurant is actually trying to achieve? Is there a vision there? It also goes to your tech. Do you have all your tech kind of rowing towards the same direction? And that happens with integrations. It doesn't really matter which way you look at it. That was the big thing we saw is a lot of teams are really trying to just have everyone go in one direction, one vision. And especially with AI right now, when you talk about tech, if everyone's not on board with that, you're going to be rowing in 5 different directions. It's not going to be a good thing. So it's everyone's on board, everyone's moving the same way.
Yeah, 100%. I'll leave the floor open here to Aaron or Megan if you want to jump in. Any of the big people wins that you saw across El Camino or Boston Pizza, Crumble, Popeyes in 2025?
Do you want to go first, Megan, or me? I can take it off.
Okay.
To save everyone time, sorry. Yeah, the biggest people win for us is we had a rising star in our company named Alex Milne, who I don't want to take credit for all of it. There was a team effort of the elevated leaders in our company that spent a lot of time. And we noticed very quickly she was a rising star from day one. And 6 months into her journey at the El Camino Group, she is now operating the Julia location on Elgin Street. And from what I hear and the feedback I'm getting, she's doing a great job. So I think it's amazing what she's done and the collaborative effort everyone gave to invest in her to get to that point.
I think from our side is maybe not specifically about a big people win, but I mean, when I think about hospitality, for us specifically, I think our entire business is really about people. We employ, I think today we're probably right around 650 staff members, but I think, even as we go into January and we plan our quarterly meetings, we bring in all of our managers together, which today is probably in and around the 40, 45 person mark, and we get them all together. And one of the big hurdles we've done successfully is bring in managers from different brands. So we have people from Boston Pizza and Crumble and Popeyes and soon to be, another brand on the horizon. But we come together as leaders, and even though we're different brands, we talk about things that are meaningful to all of them. So I think that's been a really big people win for us. We segregated the brands at the beginning, and now we're talking about the same thing. We're talking about guest experience, and we're talking about our systems. And one big win for us is we use all the same systems in all of our brands. So we call them our core systems, and yeah, Push is definitely one of them.
That is amazing to hear, especially as we get into our next slide, which we're talking about having that core system and using that data to find that time and cost savings. Now, Megan, I know we're talking about three different brands, a lot of locations across Canada, which is super impressive. Um, how have you used Push to find the data to save these time and cost savings? And have you seen a lot of savings in 2025?
Yeah, so we've been able to work with other multi-unit ownership groups, and we've shared numbers kind of back and forth. Then we obviously get kind of where the brands are heading as far as the big, cost of goods or labor dollars, what have you. And we show significant difference in kind of brand averages. And I have to take that back to the systems that we're using, because I really find that we're dialing in on daily labor. We run daily labor. We look at our weekly projections. Like, we're managing our labor for sure. We're not just, we're finding areas of opportunity. And as 7 years plus with Push, we're still finding ways to fine tune. And there's still things within the system that we're really starting to dial in on. And that's setting labor guides for the restaurant. Like, what do we want it to look like? It's not the people running their availability and determining their schedules. It's what does the business need, and then trying to look for availabilities that fit within that. Setting up alarms so that when that goes, outside of what we've projected, then the leaders in the store are getting an alarm saying, hey, this person's into overtime, or this person extended their shift. What have you. So I just think, like, really using the system and using all the bells and whistles, sometimes literally, to tell us when we're not within our projections. So yeah, we've seen great success out of that.
Awesome. That's really great to hear. Um, anyone have any stories of time savings or cost savings that, their restaurant has benefited from in 2025?
Yeah, to echo to Megan's point, we used to do an old school system where it was a lot of paperwork. So we would hire someone, they would come in for an orientation, fill out documentation, we put it in the office, and then if it's a back of house member, the chef would have to go find it. So you can see very quickly how this could be like lost information and confusion. So with the new onboarding system that we have signing on with Push, the estimation, because there's obviously some variances, is between $6,500 and $7,200 last year from just on hiring, onboarding to their first shift when they're punching in. So that has definitely been a big percentage of labor that we were able to shave. And I think we can all acknowledge it's a bit more challenging right now with where wages are. So that's definitely something that was a big win for us.
Yeah, totally hear you. Um, that's amazing. Thank you so much for these insights. As we go to our next one, we have a little segment that we like to call 2026 menu, which is something that's really exciting. As the year wraps up, we're looking forward to things in the new year, things to do, things to open. And so I'd love to direct this question to Aaron. What's something on your to-do list for 2026?
I mean, we can't get away from AI. So I think kind of what Cam was mentioning earlier of how to integrate that and making sure all the systems are together. So we use an AI platform, for an example, for our inventory once a week. So I think that's going to be a super important piece, and integrating, yeah, everything that we're using into one direction for maximizing time and growth and numbers. And there's an exciting piece around it because coming from a big corporate background to an independent restaurant field, there are a lot of people who don't have any experience using these things. So there's a really cool learning opportunity for everyone to learn about cost of goods and how to manage labor and bring down costs by implementing different strategies. So yeah, that's what's the big focus for
Yeah,
us in 2026.
totally. Name of the game is AI these days. I'd like to put Cam on the spot here and ask you, how do you think AI is going to change restaurant operations in the future?
Um, it's going to change a lot. It's definitely going to change a whole lot for restaurant operators. I think when we were talking about cost savings and time savings, there is obviously both those things, but I think everyone can agree that like labor optimization, Megan was talking about like labor guides. Labor optimization is also very key. Like it's you can cut labor costs by just having less people, but it's going to hurt your guest experience. You need the right people on the floor at the right times. When you're busy, you're staffed properly, and when you're not busy, you don't have to be overstaffed. And I think easy ways that AI is going to be able to help that with is AI forecasting, being able to aggregate large chunks of data that's hard and predict a little bit better than maybe even a human can when you can put the right person in the right spot at the right time. I think that's a huge piece when I think about labor and how you can save costs or just maximize guest experience. Because what you're missing is might not be saving on labor, but those same customers are going to keep coming back. And I know that these groups on the call, they do a great job at repeat customers. They have people who are coming back. It's because they provide that great guest experience. So that's going to be a big way for AI. I think moving down, there's going to be a whole lot more. But from our perspective, as we look at workforce and that's what Push does, I think being able to save time around scheduling faster, taking data, schedule, one click schedule, being able to auto schedule and understand that you've got the right forecast, the right people in the right spot already scheduled. That's going to be a big one here too. We want to minimize your time you're in Push. We love for people to be out of Push because it's, one, two click and you're outside of there.
Awesome. That's really great. Um, just speaking on Sawmill Restaurant Group, I know you've had a lot of repeat customers and awesome growth. Is there anything exciting that we can look forward to in 2026?
Well, as I said, we were approaching our 50th anniversary this year, so we're definitely very proud of that, and we'll be trying to use that in the next year to grow our business even more. Longevity has been part of our journey, and we're very proud of our foundation and what we've accomplished in our 50 years. So definitely just keep moving forward and trying to use the systems and make them take some of the admin work off of us and be able to focus on those restaurant operations and growing your sales, etc.
Awesome. That sounds amazing. Hope there's a lot more years to come. As we go into our next slide here, I know we're talking about new things, some really exciting things in 2026. We were chatting a bit about before the call. Megan from ZZA Hospitality, any new exciting concepts or ideas that we can share today?
Oh gosh, new concepts. Well, I guess we're always looking for new brands that fit within our sort of culture and who we are. And so we're always looking for definitely innovation with brands. But I think right now we've been really focusing on innovation from within. So, we talk about this AI. There's so much AI functionality that's coming into the system right now. We're really trying to, instead of I think we were opposed to it a little bit at the beginning, and I think now we've embraced it. We've seen a lot of the functionality coming into our current systems. We're trying to roll out Restaurants 365 as like a core operating system with a lot of integrations. I think that's going to be a big sort of I guess project for us coming up in 2026. It'll be our like core operating system, but Push will integrate into that and hopefully all of our other core systems.
Sounds amazing. Just want to follow up on the Restaurant 365 integration. Have you been using it recently, and how has that experience been?
So we are at the very beginning of Restaurants 365. So the reason why we explored that was for accounting. However, this will be our inventory system. Just getting into the very beginnings of it, the amount of visibility, especially when you're multi-unit, being able to look for, issues that are really stand out when you start to compare 15 locations together. So Again, I've been in the restaurant industry for a long time. There wasn't this much information available. So when your food cost was out by 3%, you were back in the coolers trying to figure this out, where now you can really see that through these different systems. So yeah, we're at the very beginning stages, but I'm very hopeful. A lot of capabilities.
Yeah, we're really excited to see it in action. I'd love to look at the second point, expanding your non-alcoholic menu options for Gen Z. And I think this was Aaron who mentioned this. Would you love to expand a bit on that?
Yeah, so Gen Z is the first generation and pretty much ever that is drinking a lot less alcohol than all the other generations. I think we see things with like Dry January and social medias now has some big people like Andrew Superman promoting limiting alcohol use. So one thing that I was way behind on, shamefully, was revamping a non-alcoholic menu that's been around for a long time. And I think what I'm seeing anyways where I work is a bigger drive for those kinds of menu options. So that's definitely a focus for us moving forward with a lot of kids that are coming in before they go to the bars. Surprisingly, a lot of them aren't drinking right now as much as maybe I was or my generation was. So that is definitely a big focus for us going into the definitely the summertime, but year round for sure.
Yeah, 100%. And as we go into 2026 with a lot of ideas about, new ideas, um, different ways to rework the menu and just different tech, I'd love to direct this next question to Leslie. Um, how does forecasting work for your four restaurants? And, how do you plan to use it more in 2026?
Currently, with just getting into push in 2025, this is an area that we definitely want to grow in 2026. I don't feel that we've taken advantage of it. And as Megan was saying, like 7 years in, she's still learning things. I'm sure we're going to be learning this for a long time. It's definitely an area we want to look at to be able to utilize the sales forecasting and having our general managers be able to control those labor costs like in real time and not retroactively reacting to how the costs are. So being able to utilize that system a lot better in 26 will be great for us.
That's really awesome. That's great to hear. Cam, I'm going to put you on the spot here. Is there a tool of Push that you think restaurant owners could really benefit from?
Yeah, absolutely. And it's, it is in some ways nice to hear, Leslie, Megan, that you're still learning new things with Push because it's probably because we're rolling out a lot of new stuff that wasn't there, Megan, when you first started, and Leslie, that's even come since 2025. One of the big things is our AI machine learning forecasting and scheduling. I think that's a big one. Being able to support you in your forecasting, and all of the speakers on here are multi-unit operators, and the big thing is, how do you standardize a process across all of the locations while making it unique to each location? Because we know it's going to be for Megan a different brand, or for Leslie it's going to be a different geographic area, and it might not be the exact same. You can't treat it the same, and that's where AI is able to kind of aggregate all that data and say, here's a better forecast for one area or for another area based on these reasons. Could be the weather, it could be that you have a huge patio, it could be that there's an event coming up. And that's our main goal, is to give, and I think this is the big thing that's coming in 2026 regardless of what system, because Aaron, you mentioned, oh, I might be a little bit behind on non-alcoholic drinks, or Megan used to have to go back in the freezer for inventory. I think the main goal for a lot of tech and just for restaurants in 2026 is, how do you get the right data to the right person at the right time? And it's proactive. It's not reporting. Megan said reporting is kind of in the past. It's proactive. How do we get that in front of you earlier, faster, more accurately, and into the right hand so it's not passed around? So that's what's coming with Push, but that's just also where this industry is going. I think 2026 is probably the year of data and insights. That's going to be the biggest thing for restaurant and restaurant tech.
Yeah, 100%. As we go to our next slide, I know we're, sharing a lot of insights and a lot of things that are really making our restaurants grow. Um, we would like to let's go to the next one, and then we're talking about sort of closing thoughts. And I know you can see the text on here. We don't have to read them out, but I'd love to open the floor to anyone who, has learned something in 2025 about running a restaurant, and then maybe something that Push has helped you with this year.
I can start off. We are actually going to start testing the AI sales projection forecasting, machine learning. Um, because we have so much data with Push, we've had integration for a long time. So it should know quite a bit about our restaurant sales and what happens on certain weeks or holidays. So I'm really excited to try this out. Currently, we use a similar sort of system with Crumble that it actually helps us with our mixing plans. It's game plan technology. And at the beginning, it was not maybe as smart as we wanted it to be, and today it is really accurate. And our managers in the stores, they really like to say, well, I know it's going to be slow, or I know it's going to be so busy tonight. And it's hard to beat the data because we have this like year after year, day after day, whatever. Um, so I'm really excited for that coming on here right away and testing that system. And like anything, the more you use it, the smarter it gets, right? So we're excited for this.
Yeah, and for us, I feel like with all of the AI integration and different platforms we can use, I kind of describe that as like the engineering side of what we're doing as operators. And it's easy to shift towards all those great tools, but I always kind of remind myself or the team to, we still have an artist side, which is guest facing, making big moments, whether that's running down the street to the beer store to get a beer for one of our regular guests because we ran out or whatever that looks like. So making those moments. So I'm finding challenges in it and I'm aware of balancing the engineering side, which is, as Megan's saying, is so important, and also not losing sight of what we do, and that's the artist side and presenting great experiences for our guests. So there's definitely going to be a fine line between not going too far either direction.
Yeah, 100%. I'd love to ask a follow-up question to our panelists, and maybe we can start with Leslie here. Is there something that you stopped doing in 2025? Something that maybe if we share with, the restaurant owners or managers in this live event now, they can learn from it. Is there anything that you stopped doing in 2025?
Wasting time. Going with Push has definitely been a huge time saver, and we no longer are using a couple of our older systems and manually importing data, etc. And it has been huge. So that's definitely something that we don't want to spend dollars where we don't need to spend dollars. Like, focus it where you can actually see productivity and growth from it. So that's definitely something we've stopped in 2025.
Awesome. Anyone else, anything that they've stopped in 2025 that they think, restaurant managers can benefit from learning?
I met
I
Cam on the
Go
rooftop. Oh,
ahead.
sorry, Cam.
No.
Cam is a semi-frequent patron to Camino, and I saw him on the rooftop once, and he just asked me how we do payroll, and the amount of paperwork and steps right away, I almost see on his face like, man, this is not very efficient. And so I think for me it was doing everything in my power to remove all paperwork and digitalize everything. So obviously Push was, in my opinion, the number one brand. I've used other ones, and that was one for us that was able to get us almost 100% away from paper and digital, which obviously we spoke to earlier, saved us a lot of time. So yeah, that was a big one for us for sure.
I would just like to add to the payroll side of things. It's probably one of the reasons I talk about this really loudly, that our team did the transition to Push, was for that payroll integration. I feel like this has not only saved us countless hours, but to have the two systems speak to each other. Processing payroll for us today is clicking one button that says process payroll. Because everything that you're doing is approving time clocks and that kind of stuff is already it's already done before you get to the time where you want to process payroll. Thinking about ourselves, we operate in three different provinces with different labor laws and what stat pay looks like, and it was a nightmare. We used to manually pretty much have to go back and determine, because it's like and they had to work 5 of the last 9. And if they took off the day before, it was a disaster. And we were doing this, which really created this huge room for error. There was for sure people that probably got paid incorrectly some point here and there because it was manual calculations. Um, so I think the biggest sell, there's lots of scheduling companies out there. They're getting good. I mean, they are. The bells and whistles are a lot similar, but having this all-encompassing system, that's where the time savings is to me. That's where we save so much um, time and attention to detail. Now Push looks after what the labor laws look like in that state or province or what have you. We don't think about these things anymore, which I don't even think we realized how much of a time saving it was till we got to the other side of that and was like, oh, it's a holiday and we're okay with it. We don't need to think about it. Whereas before we were preparing for that holiday and we have quite a few holidays in the course of a year. So it was a pain. Yeah.
Yeah. There's a lot of things to keep track of. And I just want to elaborate on something. If you had to estimate how much time you used to spend on payroll versus how much you spend now with push, do you have that comparison number?
Oh, if it was a holiday week, for sure, we were spending at least a few hours on a holiday week. And then we also have like a director of operations that's overseeing now the general manager to make sure that they did it correctly, and then teaching somebody how to convert a file into a CSV to be able to upload. And then the sheet doesn't look correctly. And then it was so many hours. I'm sure it was so many hours. Some weeks would be a ton. Yeah.
Yeah. A lot of things. Oh, I can't imagine how stressful that would have been. Um, as we sort of wrap up here, we are opening up to questions now. This is your chance to let in any questions that, you've heard from the panelists, if there's anything you'd like to dive into more. And I have a few here as well. So get your questions in there. I'll start with one very quickly. Um, how do you know when it's time to pivot a process that isn't working? And so, you've been doing something for a while, but how do you know when it's the right time to try something new? And maybe we'll start with Cam here. Any insights there?
Yeah, I mean, for us, our biggest thing is we really try to listen to our customers. And we try to take that feedback. I think that's one of the big value props for Push is that we do have a great way to receive customer feedback and we listen to and we try to pivot that way because I mean, we can think we know where the industry is going, but we love to hear from the boots on the ground. And I think all of you guys mentioned, our goal is to help people do what you love. And Megan and Leslie, you were saying you're stopping doing things, and no one loves figuring out compliance or doing stat holiday calculations or Aaron doing manual paperwork. What you love doing is what Aaron was saying, and one of the reasons I did frequent El Camino well before Aaron and I even knew each other, well before they were a Push customer, is that such a great customer experience. And I think that's what we want to do. We want to provide a great customer experience for your customers by not you don't have to do any of that back end stuff, and you can purely focus on just giving that great customer experience. You don't have to worry about doing all that compliance stuff. So that's absolutely where we want to be, and that's how we make our decisions for you guys.
Yeah, 100%. And all of these panelists are, restaurant groups that have multi-unit locations. I'd love to ask Leslie from Sawmill Group, how do you manage consistency across your locations, whether it's the customer experience or doing the payroll? Has that been a challenge, and how do you manage that?
Um, Challenges in certain areas for sure. We do try to have core values that we live by and that everybody is a part of, and we try to live our core values all the time, so that we are always having the one unified front, for all of our locations. Um, it's certainly a challenge sometimes with multiple locations and everybody has their own ideas. However, we definitely do try to have the same values throughout all of them. And with Push, we've been able to implement the core value surveys. So at the end of every shift for every employee, when they clock out, they have to fill in a core value survey and nominate one of their employees and speak to what they did today that was either appreciation or knowledge, and one of our core values to keep them in the forefront of everybody's mind and be able to live them.
Yeah, 100%. That's a great answer. We have a question from the chat here. Are there any areas of restaurant management that you're still doing manually, but you'd like for it to be automated? And maybe I'll direct this one to Aaron here.
That's a good question. I would say that the one thing that I'm doing on the floor in service is still sometimes I'll use manual calculations for very precise labor. Now I can acknowledge I'm a bit more intense about it than maybe some of my peers that work in the company. So it's not always necessary, but I like to really dial in on even checking it every like 10 minutes, 15 minutes if I can. So I think that would be one that I still do manually, but I still use push for all the other labor stuff in terms of scheduling, forecasting, and predicting, which has dramatically brought down our labor. But I would say that's one thing that I'm still doing manually quickly on my phone.
Yeah, 100%. I guess a follow-up here question for Megan. Is there anything that Push does for you automatically now that you used to do manually? Besides, all the payroll and all the holiday and everything.
Um, it's so funny because we've had Push for so long. I always feel like we've kind of grown with Push. Um, so I'll just give a really quick overview of what we do use and what used to take our time is we run all of our employee files. So we have all digital files now with Push. Um, Even that, having the ability to go locate if there was performance issues or policies and procedures that have been signed off on or what have you, it's all there. It's also visible to the employees, so they don't even need to request that information. We're getting into applicant tracking systems, so all of our job ads are going to go through that. We spent a ton of time before filtering through resumes. Um, so even being able to like set up the criteria to what even hits you is going to be, especially today with today's economic times. I mean, we're getting sometimes 500 applications for a single ad and just trying to get to like, what a reasonable amount of qualified candidates would look like today, right? So, um, labor projections, we're doing this AI forecasting. I mean, really, our entire mandate this year as a company is to go after simplification. But further to that, it's getting the functionality out of our core systems that we already pay for them. It's already there. And, there's tons of great training tools on Push too. So even knowing that they're there and to go watch a video on how to use a certain thing. And we really just empower our people to become experts in the system too. I think, knowledge is powerful. So if people know how to use the system and they know the functionality and they feel comfortable in it, then they're going to use it. So yeah, it's kind of where we've been at.
Yeah, that's awesome. We have another live question that just came in. Evening sales in our cafe are slow. A lot of people come in just to work and they only buy a tea. What are some AI tools that you use to improve sales? And I'll open this up to anyone. I guess it's maybe
Well, that's a
Cam,
good question.
or yeah,
Yeah,
Aaron,
I
go for it.
don't, I've never used AI that level yet to be transparent. So I can't really fully answer that question.
The one thing I would just say is that this is where the labor guides get, if you're always consistently slow at night, then using the labor guides to make sure that you're allocating the proper labor dollars within those hours. So what I find has happened in the past, which, these sort of tools give us visibility, is we gave like a weekly sales projection in our restaurants. From there, they dissect them to daily projections. But what happens, and what we were finding was then if they don't meet their labor projections on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, while we're typically slower, then they go and try to cut labor on the times that we're busy. And then that is when we are not doing our best foot forward with our guest experience. And we're kind of leaving ourselves short when we need it to run our overall projections. So I would just say if you know that you're going to be slow in a particular, you know, hours of the day or what have you, just plan for it. Just make sure you're running as minimal labor as you can and really allocating the labor where you can. And I think that AI once you build a labor guide and then use the AI functionality to properly set up your schedule, that would be the best way to go about it, I think.
Yeah, 100%.
Can
And
I add one thing to that?
go for it. Yeah, please.
Sure. Yeah, Megan, that was a good answer. I wish that was my answer. Yeah, so I worked at Starbucks when I was younger for like 5 years, so I should be able to speak to this better than I originally did. So at the end of the day, it's important to acknowledge that you're going to have peak times in a cafe from 7 to 9 in the morning, and that lunch rush and nighttime is always going to be slower. One thing that helped us is we would strategically schedule the individuals that were very good at selling and really good with guests at that nighttime. So you got to spread it because you can't obviously have all A's everywhere. But that definitely was one way that we could move someone who had that strong skill set. If we only have one person on the floor, that I was comfortable or confident in knowing that if our food sales were lower, that person was giving a really good, honest effort into what we were trying to achieve.
Yeah, and on that point of upselling, do you have any techniques or tips to upsell um, to get a bit more in there?
I mean, it depends on the person and how assertive they can be with it. But if someone has the right personality and skills for it, you can, like, I used to do things like, let me grab you an oat bar, but that might not work for everyone. But that was a technique that always worked for me when I was young, trying to like hit food targets for our district manager, of being a little bit outside the box in my communication instead of asking, would you like anything else with that? I think it goes a long way to be item specific and more of a suggestive sell. We have a bartender at Camino that sells more guacamoles than anyone. He has a really good personality for it, but he will just be like, you know what, let me grab you a guac. It's one of the best things in the city. Yeah, let me grab it for you. And with like 8 out of 10 times, if I'm sitting there at the bar having a beer after my shift, people are just like, okay, sure. So you can kind of direct or guide guests to getting things without them even maybe knowing it, if that makes sense.
Yeah, 100%. And I'd love to open this question to everyone here. Which POS brand do you use, and which one do you integrate with Push? So I mean, I will do it in one question. Which POS do you integrate with Push? And maybe we'll start with Leslie across your restaurants, if you know.
We utilize silverware. So we've just transitioned to them. We had one location using them for a couple of years just to trial it, make sure that that was the move that we wanted to do with all of our locations. And within the last year, we have moved all of our store locations over to silverware. So that's what we use for our POS now.
Awesome. El Camino, Aaron?
Yeah, we use a company called Visual Touch. That's more of a local brand to Ottawa, but that's what we use across all locations. I like Visual Touch in the sense the benefits of it are it's very user friendly in terms of adding buttons, removing buttons, and setting things up that's more efficient. So very often we'll have servers who use it way more than I do will jokingly say, Aaron, why did you set up this button there? It makes no sense. And then we can quickly adjust it. But that Visual Touch is one of the better ones that I've used in my career for sure.
Awesome. Megan?
Um, so I'll speak to Boston Pizza uses Pazzi, like the most antiquated system. We're moving to Par. Um, we were integrated. We grandfathered in. We're not fully integrated going forward. And then Crumble has its own system altogether. I would just caution people. We've talked a lot about integration today. But the one thing that I will say is if all my integration went down tomorrow, would I still find the value in it? Yes, because I mean, you still have the ability to plug in very easily daily sales projections, which then gives you all your labor numbers. I like to think that we're very, very, very good at running labor and we're like kind of seeing the results, um, comparing results as a brand, but we're still only as good as running daily labor. Like hourly labor, especially in our restaurants, even more so in something like Crumble, where we're using production time, like to bake and to make cookies. So yeah, integration is amazing if you're running it on an app, but you're really trying to dial down to like hourly labor at that point. And sometimes that's 40%. And that's not what it looks like over the course of a week. So you don't want to get too alarmed either.
Yeah, 100%. And then Cam, on behalf of our push clients, do you know sort of the POS integration that they use or the POS that they use?
Oh man, it's a lot. I think we have upwards of 100 different integrations, whether it's POS or other, and we're continuously building that out. I think over there's new POSs, there's POSs that are upgrading, some are going from on-prem to cloud, and we're always keeping up, especially with the ones that a lot of our customers use. And ones mentioned there are definitely ones that we use. We have a lot of customers using silverware. We work with the whole Crumble brand, and so they use that Crumble specific one, par, um, Visual Touch across the board. You can name a bunch more, Toast, Touch Bistro, just yeah, any of those systems we definitely do that integration with, and a lot of others. We mentioned Restaurant 365 on this call, another one, another kind of integration, some accounting, and yeah. But we want to be very, very good with Push at what we do, which is that kind of people management all the way through from the hiring, the workforce, and the payroll. And we understand that we don't think anyone can be the best in the business at everything. So we really focus on our lane. That's where we're going to develop. And then we want to give as many integrations as possible to our customer base so that they can continue to get that. I think, Megan, you called like your backbone or your core system. It's going to be a couple different systems. And we want to just make sure we have the best integration possible there.
Yeah, 100%. We have a couple more questions before we just wrap it up, and I'll direct these to a couple. What are the labor targets that you're aiming for as a percentage of sales? And I'll direct this one to Aaron. What are the labor targets that you're aiming for as a percentage of sales?
Got it. So first of all, this is going to be a moving number and target depending on the business and whether it's a restaurant or a Starbucks, that kind of stuff, different dynamics. But I think right now with where minimum wage is in Ontario, if you're running all in around 33 to 35, and then your cost of goods are between like 60, 55, you're in a good spot. So that's kind of where we try to aim for. And something that Megan mentioned earlier that I struggled with for a long time is at our restaurant, sometimes like 70% of our sales in the summer come from 2 days, or Friday and Saturday. So at the start of the week, I would see 40% or 45% in like freak out. And well, not actually freak out, but you know what I mean. And then on the weekend, it would be like 20% or 18%. Or when I worked in the corporate world, it was more consistent across the board. So I think it's noticing those trends. And obviously, we keep plugging it, but Push scheduling platform makes you see that visual that, okay, if you're scheduled at 40% on a Monday and you hit 40%, there's no need to worry because by the time the weekend comes, if we hit sales projections, that number is just going to come down.
Yeah. That was a great answer. We just have time for one more question, so I'm going to, or maybe one or two. This one I'll direct to Cam. Do you use POS's built-in labor and time attendance, or do you have a completely different system for labor and scheduling? And also HR, do you have a different system for HR for some of our clients?
Yeah, I can answer that because 99.9% of all push customers use us for the time attendance as well as the scheduling. And there's a couple of reasons why. First one is because we're also the scheduling platform. When someone's clocking in through time attendance, it actually matches the time that they're supposed to be scheduled, also the position. Because as you know, you might come in as a bartender, but then need to switch to a server, and that's going to be a different wage. So we need to make sure that we're matching all those up. There's a couple other things we do through our time attendance, like you can actually get forms signed through time attendance. If you're in certain areas, we do all the break compliance, like California. So we were really built for this. And then it obviously flows, like Megan said, right through the payroll, so that payroll is one click. So yeah, with our customer base, they absolutely use us for the time attendance, and then we are also the HR platform, so the hiring, right to offer letters to onboarding and anything in between, engagement surveys, performance reviews, kind of the whole shebang. And I think majority of our customers utilize the whole platform. It is kind of built to be one end-to-end solution, and it's not parsed in different sections and then integrated together like using three or four or five different systems. It is all one platform built from the ground up.
Great. We actually have an influx of questions now, so we're going to sort of do a rapid fire situation. We have Yoon who's asking here, starting as a front of house manager here, so congratulations. I was wondering if any of the panelists have good resources for someone who's starting in the management role. And I'll open this to anyone. Does anyone have any good resources on how to start in management as a front of house
I
or
mean,
just as a restaurant?
from an operations side, I would read The One Thing by Gary Keller for sure. I would start there. And then this for the leadership side of things, I would read The Dichotomy of Leadership by Jocko.
Okay.
I have it back. Oh, it's not gonna work because
There
I.
you
I
go.
don't know. I
Okay.
see it.
Okay,
Yeah.
it's a
Yeah,
good
you can just hold that out like right on the desk. There you go.
one.
The Essential Manager's Handbook. Awesome. Leslie, any advice for someone who's starting out as a manager?
Um, when we first integrated with Push, I utilized your tutorials and just sat through. Like, I know they're maybe not the most exciting things, but familiarize yourself with the systems and be able to utilize it to the best capabilities. And that'll definitely help you to be able to help your staff and to know the answers to the questions when they're coming to you.
Awesome. Here's a fun one. How do you guys do bar inventory check, and how long does it take each round?
We use a company called Capital Audit in Ottawa. They come in once a week and do all the inventory for us, and then they send us a report. They're the best company that I've used in my career. So they have everything down to if we're out 0.21 of an ounce of whiskey, every single thing that's on our menu. So we get that report every Tuesday. I do a one-on-one with our bar manager. We go over the numbers and plan, and we have a target to hit 0.5% of variance. So that's what we use.
We
Great.
just started using Restaurants 365. So we do our managers count all of our liquor in our store.
Awesome. Sounds good. Here's a product question for Cam. Does Push have a tip payment component?
Oh, that's a good question. So we do have a tip component. We do tip calculation, auto tip calculation, and we can prep that for payout. Depending on where you're located, if this is like someone who's talking to Canada or talking to the US, it's very, very different. In the US, we can obviously run that right through payroll or whatever we want to do it. If you're looking to pay out through like a tip card or like an auto deposit, we do have partners for that. We work with TipsFay. We work very, very closely with Tip House. And they're, again, Tip House is a great, great partner of ours, and they can manage that tip payout portion while we do the calculation. So it really, we give lots of different options here. Depends on how you want to use it.
Great. Awesome. And I think that's all for all of our questions. Really great answers and really great questions as well. As we just wrap up here, we're going to go to the next slide, and I'd love to just pass it over to Cam to share some really exciting news for our attendees today.
Yeah, great group. There's a ton of you on here, which is great. And again, thank you to the panelists. So for anyone who did attend today's live event, we are going to offer 3 months for free for new Push users. So you feel free to connect to our team today. But we always appreciate everyone taking time out of the day coming to listen. We try to make this as engaging as possible. We try to bring on some of the best people to speak because, like I said, you don't want to hear from me. But yeah, that is our offer: 3 months for free to kick off your new Push stay with us.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. We'd love to, give a great thanks to our panelists. You did an amazing job. Really, really insightful things, and I'm sure, the Q&A was blowing up if you can see it. So really awesome stuff. And thanks to everyone who attended today. The webinar will be recorded and will be posted to YouTube in a couple days, and you'll also receive an email in the next couple days with the offer for 3 months free of Push. Once again, thanks for coming, and you know. Thanks for, a great 2025, and we'll see you in 2026. Have
Thank
a good one.
you.
We'll see you.